sometimes people are really eager to get started within the first day or two of bringing their puppy home. And right away they say, oh, you know what? My puppy's not very food motivated. And so I'm not getting success. But a lot of the times that's just the little honeymoon period that you're experiencing. So first off, if your puppy is brand new and this is what you're noticing about them, I would just leave it. Just give them a couple of days to settle in. You know, be patient, spend time with them. If they're interested in luring and playing and things like that, great. But they might not be. Right. You know, some puppies are really dramatic about their change to a new home. And after a couple of days, they usually settle right in. But you just need to weather that. Just let them take their time, let them find their feet. And then at that point, you'll have much better success.
Right. Yes.
If you have a puppy that is past that point and they're not overly food motivated at that point, one of the first things I would say is be honest about their weight, how much they're eating. You know, are they eating more than they need to so they're satiated? And, you know, pups aren't great at self-regulation, but dogs as a rule, instinctually as they grow, they're not going to continue to overeat in a lot of situations because you know, they're not feeling hungry. Right. So depending on the dog, though, labs are the exception to that rule. A lab will just keep eating and eating and eating and eating and never stop. There's a lot of dogs like that, but there's a lot of dogs too that will self-regulate very well.
Right. Yes. And look at too what's going on around. If there's all kinds of fun things happening in the room and distractions, and you have a young dog and you got their kibble and you're trying to lure them, and the dog's looking around saying, well, I want to go jump on the kids. They're over there having fun. I want to go play with the other dog, or I want to go and run under the couch.
Set your scene up well.
Yes. So take your puppy into a quiet room where there's nothing going on. Shannon calls it the white room.
I do.
And it's just boring. There's nothing else happening in there but you, and you have the puppy on a leash too. So the puppy just can't say, see ya, I'm out of here. And it's just you and that kibble. Yeah. And the puppy has nothing else to do. And if they choose they don't want to engage, well, you don't want to let them out then to roar and play around. You know what? You don't want to engage with me. You can spend a little bit of time in your crate thinking about this.
Yeah.
And chances are when you bring the puppy out again, they're going to be more eager to interact with you because they weren't allowed to roam and self-reward when they chose not to.
Yeah, you bet. I like to do a little bit of training with my puppies in the morning when I know they're going to be really hungry. Yes. So sometimes it's about creating habits with our puppies too. If our puppies are in the habit of us showing them food and them going, I'm not really interested, then that becomes their go-to tactic. Yes. It becomes their automatic response. And it actually makes our lives quite a bit more difficult in trying to change that behavior because we've created a habit already. So, I would adjust some of the things that you're doing. So if you approach training first thing in the morning where your puppy has an empty stomach because they've been asleep all night, ideally, hopefully.
Yep. They have lots of energy from they've powered up from their nap.
Exactly. So take the first half of their kibble ration or, you know, whatever it is that you're feeding them and see if you can build some motivation and build some skills from that point. Right. Look critically at how much you're feeding your puppy as well. If you're overfeeding them, again, that is going to be something that they're not going to be hungry and that eager to work.
Yes, especially if you're free feeding too. Yeah. If there's food always available to the puppy's going to say, well, you know what? I really don't feel like doing what you're doing with that kibble right now. I know I can get some kibble 10 minutes down the road out of my bowl.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And that's such a valuable resource that we lose when we free feed. So we never recommend free feeding. I always recommend making sure that you're meal feeding, you know, holding back some of their meals to do some training when they're young is a great way to help to moderate their weight and make sure that they're not putting on lots of weight. If you are really struggling with that food motivation, think about maybe trying something that's a little bit higher value too. So I wouldn't do it in response to your dog refusing a piece of food though. So here's the thing. Here's where we create bad habits. So if I go to offer my dog a kibble to follow, for example, so I'm working with my puppy, I've got his kibble out and I'm like, all right, we're going to have a great training session. I go to lure him with the kibble because that's the stage of learning that he's at. And he goes, no, I don't really want that. It's not that exciting. And I'd rather play with this fluff on the carpet. Look at the fluff. The fluff is wonderful. Puppies have notoriously short attention spans. Yes. So do I though.
You do. I'm surprised actually you're not playing with that fluff on the carpet.
Well, I thought about it. I honestly thought about it. I'm going to throw this mic away and no. So if you were to do that, so if you now, the puppy's not interested in the kibble, so now you go, okay, you know what? He's not interested in the kibble. I'm going to get him some wieners, or I'm going to get him a little hunk of cheese. At that point, your puppy goes, light bulb.
Right.
Oh,
Yes.
if I hold out, something better appears.
Right. And we create our own picky eater. Yes.
Exactly. So if you do decide to go with a higher value treat, like a little pieces of cut up hot dog or cheese or some real pieces of meat, you know, you might take a chicken breast and cut it into little tiny pieces and then have a whole bunch of training sessions out of it. So those things are great, but I would start fresh with a new training session with them so that there wasn't that chance of the puppy making the connection.
Put it together.
Oh, if I refuse what you offer me and I hold out, something better comes along. So,
Yes.
I mean, that's just a dog seeing the value in a situation, right?
They're very clever. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're waiting for something really, really awesome in a lot of cases, if that's what they've learned happens. So thank you for your question, Lisa.
Another suggestion too, I like to make my kibble fun. So I can see my puppy saying,
do you like paint little faces on it?
Well, I don't have small enough paintbrushes.
Oh.
But no,
rectify that.
what I do is I will hold the puppy by the chest or the collar, and I'll get a kibble and I'll kind of tease the puppy a bit, and I'll be excited myself. And then I'll give the puppy, the kibble, a little roll along the ground. And most puppies like to chase something. So I've gotten them excited. I get that kibble and I roll it along the ground, and the puppy pounces after it, and then they catch it, and they eat it.
Yeah.
And I do that a couple of times, and all of a sudden the puppy says, kibbles are fun. I like them. And it can really turn them on to working.
Absolutely. And it awakens the inner predator in them.
Yes.
So, you know, we go out for a meal, and I'm thrilled when I'm sitting at a restaurant and somebody plunks a wonderful looking meal in front of me that I know is mine to eat, and it's just been prepared and it's fresh and it's hot. That's thrilling for me. That wouldn't be as thrilling for a puppy, though. Puppies are predators.
Yes.
You know, they are eager to chase, grab, shake, kill, eat.
Right.
That's the sequence, right?
Yes.
So
in the wild, meals are never placed in front of you. Not that our puppies are in the wild.
You do
of
not
course.
have to tip your waiters in the
Right,
wild.
but you have to work for your food. If one of our dogs got loose and was living in the forest on their own, they have to work for their food, and that's in their genetics to work for food.
Yeah. Well, and that's the instinct, right? Is to chase, grab, kill, eat. That's the instinct that gets to eat. They don't just go to the eat first. They go, sometimes there's a scavenge and eat, and sometimes there's a chase, grab, kill, and eat.